Elijah Hollands is officially a member of the Carlton Football Club. The deal is done. This was a deal that really was rumoured to be done early in the year. There was some conversations around pairing up Elijah with his brother Ollie. I remember seeing it at the time and thinking, okay, that's just a bit of a pipe dream. We've seen these situations before, Henry Walsh, Josh Cripps, etc. And the only difference was that the other brothers weren't already in the AFL. So let's understand who exactly is Elijah Hollands and what exactly does he bring to the Carlton Football Club. Now, the context is that Paddy Dow and Zach Fisher have left the club. These are guys that played 10 or so games each. And I guess the hole that's left with the two of them leaving the club is now going to be filled by people such as Elijah Hollands. So when we look back at Elijah Hollands, this is a 21-year-old prospect born in April. He will start the season next year as a 21-year-old. He was drafted with pick 7 in the 2020 draft. And if we look at the context of that, he was drafted in a lockdown year. Now, prior to that, he was a top prospect. I mean, he still is. A pick 7 is a top prospect. He was rumoured at the time of his draft year to be a potential top 5 pick. But unfortunately, an ACL injury impacted that. I don't know if it's a silver lining, but the context around the rest of the under-18 championship that year is that, we had a lockdown, COVID was here, so none of the other players got to play much more footy than what Elijah did anyway. So that is that situation. He was very highly touted, a lot of talk about him. When we break down his strengths and his weaknesses, it's listed that his overhead marking, his scoreboard impact, his athleticism, his defensive pressure, his one-on-ones, his goal sense, and his dual-sidedness were his strengths. Now, his improvements or his weaknesses were he needed further midfield development, and the question mark probably still is around his post-injury durability. He's played 14 games for the Suns. The talk coming out of the Gold Coast Suns was that they mentioned that they're open to trading him. There's a number of reasons around it. We've played Elijah out of position a little bit to play games. He's best suited around the midfield rather than the wing. We're fairly well stocked in the midfield from a first phase, but the emergence of Sam Flanders, Bailey Humphrey, and Alex Davies leads us to believe that we think that area of the ground is really well stocked for us. Elijah didn't grasp the opportunity we gave him, even though we didn't play him in his best position. We feel like we're well stocked in that area. The other thing that we've worked really on is to get our TPP to a position that we're really comfortable with. Going forward, we're going to be really vigilant with some of the players we have contracted. If they're not meeting that level of their contract, we'll have to make some decisions. There's a whole heap of reasons, but we're well placed in that position which he's suited. So it really looks like a clean, what they need, what we need. Looks like a really clean situation. It's almost too good to be true. So it's a perfect fit from what I'm reading here. And I think we ourselves have had a very similar situation with Dow, with Fisher, where there's just players ahead of them. They're at a different age to Elijah. They're coming into that mid-20s bracket. Elijah's still, early 20s. He's 21 years old. So this lends well to the fit for both clubs. Having said that, I still believe he's going to be a player that plays both positions. The half-forward line at Carlton is still something which has a bit of a question mark, I think, for us. Where I see it, I think there is scope for a player to come in, whether it's Elijah Hollands or whether it's a Dave Cunningham, whoever it is on the list now, to really lock down that spot. I think our connection between mid and forward has been questioned for a number of years. We started to see the development of that in the second half of 2023. No surprise, that was when we were seeing a healthy Dave Cunningham. That was when we were seeing a healthy Jack Martin. And so I think that's where Elijah will slot in. I mean, what is the expectation of him for season 2024? I don't really have too much. I would expect that I don't think he would be there at the top of mind for the starting 22 from the outset. I think there are players ahead of him at this stage who, if they were fit and available, they would be selected. But I do think he adds to the depth, which is where I think this matches up with what Nick Austin has said really from the start of the trade period and the draft period around, we're looking to add depth to the list. So that is where I have a little bit more comfort knowing we've lost Fish, we've lost our guys who are ready to play AFL football. Is Elijah Hollands ready to play AFL football? Absolutely he is, and that's a big tick. A little bit more about him for those that aren't aware. His draft profile reads very well. So in terms of what he offers a club, the list is vast. Up forward, he's hard to beat as one of those medium, tall forwards who is just the right size to match it with talls or smalls. Against a key position type, he's too quick. Against a small, he is too strong. His body positioning in marking contest is terrific and has been known to hold off an opponent, protect the ball drop zone, and even take it one-handed. Such is his reading of the ball in a contest. At ground level, Hollands is clean and able to grab it in one take, and more importantly, can instantly switch into defense mode with a high tackle count to accompany his offensive traits. His goal sense is arguably the best in the draft crop, being one of those players that can turn on a dime, slam home a goal from just inside 50. He had a few troubles with his set shots earlier last year in the NAB League, so this is written in 2020, and never got a chance to get a sustained run at it, but has shown that set shots do not often worry him. Whilst Hollands is a right footer, he has been known to chuck it on his left and be just as effective. He can kick goals inside 50 on either foot, and sometimes he might rush a tad through the midfield by trying to use penetration and put it deep to a teammate's advantage. He generally makes the right decisions with ball in hand. In terms of his blend of offensive and defensive traits, Hollands is able to win the ball in multiple ways, and that includes back from the opposition via tackles or forced turnovers. It would have been nice to see him progress into the midfield in 2020, but he has shown enough playing up forward alone that he is worthy of a top 5 pick. With his athleticism, goal sense, and high impact per position, Hollands is a player who is a natural ball winner. So that's the general story about him. When I watch highlights of him, I think I understand why we're going to have an Elijah Hollands instead of a Paddy Dow or a Zach Fisher. The defensive side of his game is a feature. He looks like a Voss type player. He's got a nice big build about him. He's 189 centimeters. So as I just said, now he's not too tall. He's too strong for the smaller guys. He's a nice size. I think he actually fits exactly with the prototype and the profile of what we need. So now the story turns to, how's he going to do it? How's he going to make it? Well, he's just at a good age. We'll see. I want to welcome him to the club. Wish him all the best. And this is a nice piece of business from Nick Austin, who just continues to chip away, just continues to build this list out. I think it's really, from my lens, it's really impressive to see the list, how it's starting to take shape, or how it started to take shape and how it continues to take shape over the course of our experience with Nick Austin. And I think this is just another card in the deck, and we'll see what happens. But what about you? What do you think about Elijah Hollands? What do you think about the deal? Share with us your thoughts in the comments below. And once again, go Blues.